top news of this evening. Harden to the Cavaliers, yet another Photoshop for the man with the biggest beard in the NBA. And as promised, right off the bat, senior NBA insider Charania right here with us. Breaking news out of Cleveland is, in fact, that Harden is heading to Cleveland, out of L.A. for a second-rounder and Darius Garland. How do we get to this point, right, where we're finding James Harden in yet another NBA jersey?
So James Harden had a mutual option in his contract that allowed both sides here in the lead-up to the trade deadline, right? Next season is not guaranteed for James Harden. He had a small partial guarantee. And so both sides got to discussing what is next long-term, what happens next year with him. And James Harden came to the consensus that he wants to be in a win-now situation and in a longer-term future, wherever he's at. And next year was not promised for him, potentially with the Clippers and beyond. And those are the two criteria: win-now situation, competing for a championship, and a longer-term future. Both criteria he felt were there with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so how could you find a beneficial path for James Harden to land that somewhere else, and for the Clippers to get that? And they get that with Darius Garland, who's 26 years old. James Harden is 36 years old. It's very rare where you have two prolific stars traded with a 10-year age gap, and the Clippers really feel Darius Garland allows them to be competitive now and well into the future.
Yeah, it's almost a win-win for both franchises in that case. Now, looking at James Harden in Cleveland, we shift the focus to fit. How is that going to work out, or what have you heard out of that area about what they're thinking that backcourt will wind up being?
You have to look at the relationship between James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. It's going to all start there, and where does that go? And I'm told both have already communicated and connected, and there seems to be an excitement level about this duo. You're talking about two high-powered elite guards. James Harden has played with a plethora of elite players and scorers throughout his NBA career. But everything in Cleveland is about winning and competing for a championship. We've seen it. That's the pressure. That's the motivation that Donovan Mitchell has brought since he's arrived in Cleveland. And think about what they've done this week. Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder come in from Sacramento. Now today, James Harden comes in. Everything they're doing is how can we build a championship contending team around Donovan Mitchell, and they feel like today they took a high-level step toward that direction.
Yeah, they're tired of falling short, quite frankly, and James Harden is obviously going to add to the hopeful lore of the Cleveland franchise. He is the first player in NBA history to change teams midseason multiple times as an NBA player. The Cavs hope he can help get them over that postseason hump, but deep playoff runs have not been Harden's forte as of late. In his last 13 seasons since he left OKC, Harden has appeared in just 2 conference finals and 0 NBA finals. It is unreal to see that this team is sort of continuing to work out the kinks and finding the roster construction that works for them. But this is only the beginning, Shams. We got to continue on with what else we have for you. James Harden, first player. Other trades that went down. We talked about the Detroit acquired sharpshooter Kevin Huerter in a 3-team deal that gets him to Minnesota. Bulls also sent Nikola Vucevic to Boston for Anthony Simons. And Memphis traded Jaren Jackson Jr. to Utah on an 8-player deal. The rebuilding Grizz now have 12 first-round picks over the next 7 seasons. Jackson, a former Defensive Player of the Year, joins a Jazz team that allows the most points per game this season. So sticking with that last transaction, Shams, now that Jaren Jackson Jr. has been traded, what are we looking at as far as the likelihood of of Ja Morant being part of the trade headlines coming up?
So Ja Morant is one of the biggest names that we've been talking about potentially trade-wise, right? And there's certainly a chance he could be moved between now and Thursday's trade deadline. I'm told the Grizzlies are fielding interest from multiple teams. And with this Jaren Jackson trade, not only have they now accumulated about a dozen first-round draft picks, they have as many first-round picks, second-round picks, and draft swaps as any team in the NBA, including Oklahoma City and Brooklyn, but also a $28.8 million trade player exception. And this now allows them, if they want, to take back some bad salary potentially with draft capital in a potential Ja Morant deal. So we'll see what that market looks like. But it's clear, Trev, they are moving toward a full rebuild in Memphis. Desmond Bane traded for 4 first-round picks Last summer, Jaren Jackson Jr. 3. Now we'll see what happens with Ja Morant.
Now, speaking of inevitabilities, the man Giannis out there in Milwaukee, still there as of now. What's the likelihood of him moving at this point?
Listen, the entire league is waiting on Giannis, whether he's going to be traded at this deadline or whether it's going to be in the offseason. Giannis, my understanding is he's prepared either way it goes, whether it's now or in the summer. He is ready for an exit from Milwaukee. And so it's really on Bucks officials, ownership, sifting through the offers that they're going to get between now and Thursday. Will one reach the criteria that they've set with a blue chip town as well as a surplus of draft picks? They have Miami, New York, Minnesota, Golden State, all with aggressive offers. There have been counter offers that have been made this week, but will an offer come and meet that criteria? Everyone in the NBA is waiting on this.
Yeah, you'll see if Giannis is down to go to wherever ends up coming up with the right capital. Shams, we appreciate it as always, brother. So let's dig into these trades with NBA analyst Iman Shumpert now here. Now, when you heard Shams drop the news that Harden was heading to Cleveland for Darius Garland in a second, what do you think of that fit as it stands?
Well, initially, it was just us previewing the thought. And when I previewed the thought, didn't like it. Now that it's happened and we're starting to weigh the positives and negatives, one thing that we can see is that James Harden makes his bigs better. With having Jared Allen out there, sometimes getting lost in the fold, Evan Mobley, who's one of those guys you want to turn his aggressiveness up, James Harden is the right guy for that. As far as Donovan Mitchell and his relationship, I think that the ball dominating, as long as they can figure that out, and they're going to have to figure it out quick if they want to make a push this year, the loss of DeAndre Hunter, I think, hurts their defense, and I never wanted to see that happen for the Cavs because the Cavs in previous years have hung their hat on the defensive end. And, you know, seeing James Harden come over there, I know it takes a hit, but right now we're just going to have to lean into his playoff experience, and hopefully he can clean up that turnover column in the later rounds in the playoffs.